Hello, welcome again to another TLC video. Today, we got another character build, and I'm pretty proud of this one. This is one that it's got 3 different classes into it. It has a lot of utility to it. It's got some great sustain damage, but it's the burst damage that I think is going to really kind of raise some eyebrows and make you really consider trying out this class. For inspiration, all right, I drew a little bit of a couple of things. I drew, you know, some sword art online. I'm a big anime fan. This is going to become very apparent here really quick, right? You know, I drew some sword art online. I drew some, you know, I even drew like some Attack on Titan, Zoro from One Piece, you know, some Killer Bee from Naruto. Like, there's so many things that I love the idea of a character who is just quick and uses these blades that, you know, just are back and forth, left, right, center, just everywhere. And I think I have come up with a character that gets us that, as close as I possibly could, with some very impressive damage numbers. So, bear with me as I take you through my ultimate swordsman build. Now, some parameters, all right? So, some things to just point out right here, right now, all right? The things that we need, the things we're going to be looking at. 1, we're going to try to get this class done by 10th level. Now, I will say, if you are willing, all right, I'm trying to make my builds 10th level caps, and the reason I do this is because I've said this in my ultimate healer build. I'll post that video up here somewhere. Is that one of my biggest pet peeves when I watch content creators on YouTube and whatever, with these builds, these character builds that don't come online until like level 14. Right? You know, they have like 4 or 5 different classes mixed together. They have feats that, you know, at the level that they're taken don't really do much, or armor that's taken at a level that doesn't really do much. But they tell you that don't worry. All right, levels 1 through 11 might suck, but when you get to that level 12, holy shit, the stars align and you now become a god on the battlefield. Like, that's awesome. That's great if I'm playing in a campaign where maybe we start at level 8 or 9 and the DM says, yeah, we're going to meet up once a week, every week, guaranteed, and we're going to take you straight to, we will get to level 20, then sure. But as I've discussed before on this channel, most games, most campaigns, they don't go to level 20. In fact, most games don't even go to fucking tier 4 at all. In other words, most campaigns kind of dwindle out, whether it's because the module ends or people's lives happen. And the campaign just kind of can't continue. And that usually happens by like level 15, 16. So, you know, when I see these amazing builds, don't get me wrong, but when these amazing builds, like levels 1 through 8 are like dead levels that even the creators like, yeah, you know, you're going to feel really bad for, you know, levels 1 through, 6, 1 through 7. But, you know, eventually we're going to get good. I can't do that. Not when most of my campaigns usually happen between levels 1 through 10. So that is why we're going to cap this character at level 10. Now, if you can get to level 11, all right, then this class gets even better at level 11. So don't think that this class dies at level 10. This is just where we're capping it. All right, so now that that's out of the way, what do we need for this class? Well, we're going to need spells. All right, and the reason we're going to need spells is because if we have this image in our head, right, like if we got, you know, Levi Ackerman from Attack on Titan or Zoro, then, you know, we're not going to be throwing around no big-ass sword, right? So that means no polearm master. That means no great weapon master. So that means that we're going to, you know, those feats are out, which means we're going to need to come up with good sustainable damage over time that just having a big sword just isn't going to happen. In fact, the biggest sword that we can actually dual wield, which means we can have 2 of, is a 1d6. All right, a short sword. That's the biggest attack die we can take. So because of that, we need something to give us sustainable damage. Spells are going to be what we use. All right, we're going to need a decent armor class. All right, we're going to be fighter after all. All right, we're going to be up there in the front. All right, we're going to need something to take some of those hits off of us. We're going to need good damage output, consistent damage output, and then of course we're going to need that all-powerful Nova damage, and holy shit does this class give it to us. So, what's our race? I suggest to you the Shadar Kai. The reason I say this is because, 1, we get super awesome abilities. Blessings of the Raven Queen, Trance, they are great utility, and Blessing of the Raven Queen really kind of puts us, gives us a unique ability, which I'll explain here in a second, but it also, by going this race, it opens up the door, I think, thematically, for exactly the direction where this character is going to go, and that's going to become very apparent when we start taking our levels. But first, let's look into this. So Blessing of the Raven Queen, what this ability does is, 1, it gives us a Misty Step once a day for free. All right, we pick a spot, we can teleport there. I think it might even be 60 feet. It's either 30 or 60 feet. We'll say 30 feet, that way I'm not fooling you with fake information here. You know, I'd rather be wrong and it actually be better than the alternative. So you get a teleport for 30 feet as a bonus action. But at level 3, when you do this teleport, you also gain resistance to damage until the start of your next turn. You just get it. That's so awesome. That allows us to use this ability to maybe close a 30-foot gap, immediately get into the swing of attacks, and we are not going to be resistant. We get 1 whole turn of being resistant to damage. Fantastic. This is really going to go well for the class that we have in mind. Fey Ancestry just means that we have advantage on Charm and Frightened abilities, which can't go wrong with. All right, I like that. All right, it's free. Trance, this is where we get a little bit of utility. So trance, 1, it makes us so we don't have to sleep. All right, we just have to go into a trance for a few hours. But the other thing it does is it gives us proficiency in a tool and a weapon of our choice. Now the weapon, that's neither here nor there if there's another weapon that you end up wanting to use, but remember, we're doing dual wield, so it's got to be able to be a weapon that you can dual wield. You know, 2 weapon fighting. So it's the tool proficiency that matters. Now, it may not seem like that big of a deal, but to be able to say, hey, if we need a disguise kit, I can help out with that. If we need to break into something, let me trance myself. Let me go into a trance for a few hours, all right, and I can be proficient in thieves' tools, all right, or alchemical tools, or an herbalism kit. You know, all of those things I can become proficient in. I just need to rest. That is so cool, and it's such a nice little utility thing just by going with our race. For our background, not to mention they just look cool. For our background, we're going soldier. Don't get me wrong, if I was actually playing this character in a campaign, I would probably choose one that gave me the widest range of abilities. So I may go something even, you know, like criminal or street urchin, just because the classes we'll be going into will not be giving me those kinds of proficiency options. Whereas athletics and intimidation, I'm pretty sure our very first level, we will be able to take those 2 as proficiencies. But it's up to you. This is purely thematic, so I'm going soldier. For our stats, all right, I'm assuming point buy. So we have a 13 in our strength, all right, which just gives us the ability to wear our heavy armor. Dexterity is a 15. We will be using finesse weapons, so we're going to want to focus on our dexterity throughout this build. So we're going to have our highest stat, our 15 in our dex, and we will immediately put our +1 in there. So that is going to get us to our 16. For our constitution, we will start at 14. This is where we'll put our +2. So now we have 16 in our constitution. Nice, you know, nice, decent health pool, right? Like, you know, we're going to be a fighter, so we get a nice good D10 for our HP, and to have an immediate, you know, +3 on top of that, great. It also helps us with our concentration checks. Now, our intelligence and wisdom, I wish I could give you 10s at least, and I tried, but in order for this class to work, I had to have 2 8s, and I physically could not put them anywhere else. So I'm afraid our mental stats are going to take a big hit here. So intelligence is going to be an 8, and our wisdom is going to be an 8. I'm sorry, but they have to be. In order for this class to work, and in order to multi-class where we want, we got to have those 2 dump stats there. Which, of course, then leaves our charisma at a 13. All right, so let's get right on into it here. Level 1, we are picking, probably no shocker to anybody, fighter. The reason we want fighter right out of the gate at level 1 is because, 1, it unlocks our armor, right? We are now proficient in any armor that we want. Heavy is going to be the one we want to go into. We get a fighting style. Fighter is the only class that gives us a fighting style at level 1, which means at level 1, we immediately get to use 2 weapon fighting. We get second wind, which is a nice, easy heal, and we have proficiency in constitution saving throws, which means our concentration checks for our spells, specifically the 1 spell we will be using consistently, we will have a nice, good, healthy bonus to really make sure that it is staying around as long as it possibly can. All right. Now, Although we may have started in our game as a fighter, we are Shadar Kai. We have a connection to that realm of shadows, the good old Shadowfell itself, and the deity that resides there. And as such, perhaps she came in our dreams, perhaps she whispered to us through the ether. Whatever the case, immediately at level 2, we adhere to these whispers and this calling, and we accept whatever pact she may offer us, and we are taking Hexblade Warlock 1. Alright, the reason we're doing this is because this is a beautiful multi-class. Hexblade Warlock is probably one of my favorite multi-class options because it gives us such great bonuses to our damage, and it gives us an ability to cast magic, as long as we have enough short rest throughout the day, routinely. Alright, multiple times. So, we get Hexblade's Curse. That increases our critical range, which no one is going to complain about. We get a heal if we kill something, but most importantly, we get bonuses to any weapon damage on a cursed creature. It does not, by the way. I had to reread this. I had to go back and double check, and I am proud to say, I am happy to say, that the way it is worded is that any attack you make on a cursed target, you get to add your proficiency bonus in damage to it. It is not just by the weapon that you use. So this means you get to add this bonus to both your hexed weapon, right, your packed weapon here, and your offhand, right, your second longsword. Really awesome, good, sustainable damage output. And of course we get our spells, all right, we get some cantrips. If you want to take Eldritch Blast, go for it. If you want to, the way that I understand, the way that it is worded is that in order for me to make an attack with my offhand weapon, I have to make an attack with a melee weapon first. So although, you know, this may be something you ask the DM, if you can get away with cantrip as your action, and then you know, do something like, say, Booming Blade, which increase, you know, which might give you an extra D8 of damage on an enemy, or Green Flame Blade, and do some extra damage. If you think you can get away with that and then offhand second, then absolutely take one of those as your cantrips. However, I will say once we get our ability to attack twice, we will not be using that cantrip anymore. So it's up to you, whatever cantrips you want to use. You know, it's neither here nor there. You might be able to sneak in an extra D8 of damage, but it's the spells that we want, right? It's the ability to cast spells that we are looking for. And in this case, there's only one spell we will ever be casting with this precious, precious spell slot. And that is, of course, Hex. All right, so we have accepted this pact of the Raven Queen. We have lived a little bit, all right? We've gone out and done her work. And in the process, we've realized that this pact, it's not enough for us. All right, we have seen the graciousness, all right, the power that this deity, that this lady of the Shadowfell holds, and we realize that we want to take this relationship a step further. All right, we are done just being in some kind of agreement with the Raven Queen. We are now going to be a devoted follower of her, and we are going to go 2 levels of Paladin, all right, in the Raven Queen's name. All right, the reason we're going to go Paladin here is, 1, we get another fighting style. This isn't the main reason we're going this class. All right, this is just a nice little bonus. And there are some choices here. We can take either Interception, which basically just says, hey, if you and someone else, if you got a party member that's close by, you might be able to deflect some of the damage that they would take on an incoming attack. Could be useful. We can increase our AC by 1, all right, kind of make up some of that AC that we are losing because we're not running around with a shield. All right, this could be useful. We could impose disadvantage on a strike. I forget the name of the fighting style. It might just be Protector or something, but whatever the case, all right, any of these are useful. And if there's another one that you know about that you're like, this one would be really awesome, go for it. These are just the Paladin fighting styles that I thought would be the most beneficial. However, the real reason we're going here Paladin is for these last 2 reasons. All right, one, our first one is Smite. We have unlocked the first part of our Nova damage. All right, we now get to have a nice little burst when we are, you know, attacking an enemy that is, you know, the big bad, right? You know, one of the bigger things that we need to kill. But we also get some spell casting. All right, this is opening the door for some utility. All right, and the Paladin's first level spell slots, although they're not, it's not the greatest list in the world, or it's not a wizard, all right, or even a sorcerer, it's got some decent spells. All right, we got, protection against good and evil. We got cure wounds. All right, if you think that, you need to heal a bit, I don't have this on the list, but we now also have 10 points of lay on hands that we can use. This really kind of opens the door for us to just kind of, get into a little bit of utility stuff. I love when classes, I personally, even when I build incredibly min-max classes, I want some of that utility. I want to be able to do things besides just the one thing I'm trying to be best at. I'm not saying I have to be the best at everything. I just want to be able to still contribute outside of the one thing I was building towards. And of course, by being a second level paladin, we now have a few more spell slots that we can play with. So we are no longer relying on just one hex a short rest. Now we can cast 3. But we do have to keep in mind that once we lose these spell slots, they do not come back on a short rest. All right, 5th level, we are going right back here into fighter. All right, so 5th level, we will go fighter. All right, that means we are now a 2nd level fighter. And we get sweet, sweet action surge. All right, hoorah. All right, I know, we don't get our 2nd attack, all right, because we've multi-classed, but we get something pretty damn good too. All right, so let's do a check-in. All right, it's 5th level. All right, I like to do my check-ins 5th level because it's halfway through the build, and then a 10th level because it's the max, right? So let's do a damage check-in. Now, if we are, I'm assuming that when you enter into combat here, I am assuming that since both of these abilities come back on short rest, I am assuming that you get to do these 2 abilities in a decent amount of your combat situations. All right, so I'm going to consider this as part of our average. So we get Hexblade's Curse as our action. Yes, it is worded that it is a bonus action, but Jeremy Crawford has even come out and tweeted that, hey, any bonus action can be used as an action. So you can do 2 bonus actions on your turn as long as one of them is taking your action, right? It's just the other way. The vice versa does not work. So Hexblade's Curse is your action, bonus action, Hex. All right, now it feels kind of bad spending your first turn just kind of prepping. If you're close in combat, if you want to snag that first hit right out of the gate, I could see maybe you Hexblade's Curse as your bonus action and get 1 freebie swing in. But, it's entirely up to you. Point is at some point, as soon as you can, let's try to get both of these abilities in there immediately. So that then we can see, all right, then, what is our damage output when we are fully prepped? Well, we get to attack twice, right? 1 is our action, 1 is our bonus action. So that means, weapon damage, it will be 1d6 plus 3 twice. That's where my 2d6 plus 6 comes. We have Hex, so that's 2d6. And we get to add 4. Our proficiency bonus is 2, after all. So on each strike from our Hexblade's Curse means that in total we get to add 4 to all of this. This means, in average, we will end up with, give or take, about 26 points of damage per turn. This isn't half bad. Now, granted, if maybe, say, we had gone 5th level pure fighter, 5th level, with Polearm Master, big glaive is our attack, then it'd be 2d10 plus 1d4 plus, if we hadn't split our stats so much, we could probably have had maybe even an 18 in our strength at that point. Yeah, they're probably pumping out 30-something points of damage around, right? But 26 isn't pathetic. This isn't a small amount. This isn't a tiny one. And the fact that we have so much more utility than that. We have Paladin spells. We have a Warlock spell slot. We have the ability to teleport thanks to our Shadar Kai. We have a lot of things going for us here. I'm willing to give up 5 points of average damage, between me and the min-maxed fighter, who had just gone straight to 5th level. I'm willing to do that for some utility. But let's show you something here that might surprise you, all right? And that is our Nova damage. Because we have min-maxed and because we have multi-classed, this gives us the ability to both action surge and smite. Now in this case, I'm only going to say that we only smite once. because we only have one warlock spell slot, which I'm assuming you used Hex on, and then 2 other spell slots from being a paladin. So I am assuming, for the sake of this, that you only, I think it would be safe to assume that you have used at least 1 spell slot for something else, whether it's a shield in combat or a charm person or something outside of combat. Whatever the case, I think it is safe for us to assume that you've used it somewhere else. So I'm going to say we have 1 smite to use here. So in total, we end up with 4d6 plus 12. All right, that's our weapon damage because we get to attack 4 times. We have 4d6, all right, 1 for each of our weapon attacks. We have 8 from our Hexblade's curse and the 2d8 from our smite. That gives us an average of 62 points of damage in this Nova round. That is right up there, by the way, with an action surge 5th level pure samurai fighter. All right, this is right up there. So, although our consistent damage might be a little, middle of the road, all right, not the most it could be, our Nova round is nothing to complain about. All right, at 5th level, to be able to deal 62 points of damage in one go, this ain't bad. And keep in mind here, at the very least, we have the ability to get a lot of this stuff back when we take a short rest. Our Hexblade's Curse does, our Hex does. We don't get our Action Surge or our Smite, but everything else here is routine. All right, as soon as that fighter uses their Action Surge, then they go right back to their consistent damage. So, we get this utility, we get this awesome Nova damage, we are looking good. And it just gets better from here. So level 6. We are going to go fighter, right? And we're going to go fighter here for the next few levels. So at level 6, we are now a 3rd level fighter. We get our fighting style. All right, and we are going to go Battle Master. I tried to throw in Rune Knight, Rune Fighter, because I thought that, you can use your bonus action to swell up and enlarge yourself, which then increases your damage output by a little bit. Not to mention, there are some runes that do some extra damage if you use them, but you can only use it like once a day, and it's another bonus action, so it would slow down how long you could how long until you could Nova again. Like, it's just, there was too many things, and so I just figured, I think Battle Master is still the best. And the reason why is because, 1, we get 4 superiority dice, which are d8s, which are a fantastic die to just get handed at 6th level. A lot of classes usually start at like D4s, D6s, and as you level up in this class, then they get higher. Here, it's like, hey, you get D8s. They don't get any bigger, but you get a decent die right out of the gate. And what's really awesome, they come back on short rests. So something else that we can kind of put in that basket of abilities that come back on short rest, which are really, really good for us. And we get some versatility because now we get to choose different kinds of fighting maneuvers. We may be able to trip an opponent. We may be able to make an opponent attack its buddy. We may be able to make it, just all kinds of different things. So really awesome. Go Battle Master. All right, level 7. We are now going to be Fighter 4, which means we get our ability score improvement. And we're going to keep things simple here because, again, there's really no feat that is like super crazy outrageous that would help us too much. So we're just going to put that +2 onto our dex and get our dexterity up to 18. It may not seem like a lot, but remember, we are attacking twice, and both of them rely on dexterity. So we're not increasing the damage of one weapon, we're technically increasing the damage of 2. And once we hit level 8, we're going to be able to do it to a 3rd attack. Which leads me right into level 8, right? At a level 8 character, we will now be Fighter 5, which means that we get to attack twice. We finally reached this point, right? So that means that Hexblade weapon now gets to be used for all of everything. All right, our proficiency bonus has increased. Holy shit, is this going to make a big increase, a massive power jump to our average and our Nova damage. All right, and at level 9, again, another fighter, and we are Fighter 6 now. That means we get a whole other ability score improvement. Let's cap that dexterity to 20 and do it so that we are as absolutely maxed out on damage as we can possibly purely be by stats. Which leaves us here to level 10, and your class is done. Congratulations, your class was basically online at level 9. Level 10 is just a bonus. All right, and really, it's up to you where you want it to go. You know, do you want to go Paladin? You know, to get more, you know, to get another spell slot, you know, to get some extra smites, you know, because at 3rd level, you know, we have that ability. We have some channel divinities. Do you want to go Fighter 7, you know, and get the Know Your Enemy feature from the Battle Master fighter? I will say it is not the craziest of abilities. Right, it's the ability that basically lets a battle master like look at somebody and go, what's your what's your constitution number? What is your strength score? What is, you know, what are you vulnerable to? Like, it could be useful in some campaigns, but it's not crazy. I will say though that being a fighter 7 means you're only 1 level away from another ability score improvement. So it's really up to you. Personally, I would go Paladin 3. I would avoid going Warlock 2. I could see the draw for it, because if you go Warlock 2, then you get a whole other spell slot, which is nice. However, you know, which would come back on a short rest, which means that we would get a whole other Hex ability on a short rest, which could be useful. The problem is that the other thing you get is Eldritch Invocations, which none of them assist us in terms of damage output. Going Paladin 3 does. So it's up to you. I could see the draw for going Warlock 2. If you want to take this build to level 11, then I really could see it, because then you could take Pact of the Chain and get a familiar, or go Pact of the Weapon and make your weapon +1. Like, you know, if this goes level 11, then I would have more reason to go Warlock 2 here. But from the numbers I have, and since I know I'm capping myself at 10, to me there's only 2 options, Paladin or Fighter, and I would go Paladin. Reason why is because at Paladin 3, we get Channel Divinity. Specifically, Oath of Vengeance. As bonus action, we give ourselves advantage on a target for 1 minute. This means that all of this damage, all of these things that we've been trying to do, you know, all this damage that we've been aiming to hit, now we have a much higher, we basically are doubling the chances, the likelihood of us landing these hits on an enemy. This is fantastic. If, however, you're like, well, I don't want to use another bonus action, it slows me down a little bit, there are some other oaths. All right, Oaths of Conquest could be nice. All right, you just choose to give yourself a +10 on a hit. All right, so if you're really wanting to make sure, you know, that you hit next time, then, you know, this could be useful. You go Oath of the Watchers, which would increase your Intelligence, Wisdom, and Charisma save equal to your Charisma modifier. I will say it would only be a +1 though. So, you know, you would still, you know, you would basically just neutralize, you know, you'd be at 0 instead of -1 for your intelligence and your wisdom. But hey, if that's really important for your campaign, it is an option. Don't be afraid to take it. So we're here. All right, we're level 10. All right, let's do our final check-in, right? Let's see where we stack. Assuming that we follow the same pattern as we did, our damage output when fully prepped looks something along the realm of 3 attacks. So 3d6 plus 15 for our dex. We get 8 of our Hexblade damage. We get 3d6 of our Hex. And we get 1d8 for our Battle Maneuver, which averages out to be about 55 points of damage, around 55 to 59, basically. However, that's not full. And the reason why I say that's not full is because as I'm looking at this, I realize I have mixed matched my math. It is not 8 Hexblade, it is technically 12, because you attack 3 times, not 2. So it should be 12 damage, so we need to increase that 55 to 59. So basically we're sitting at an average of about 60 points of damage around. Alright, there we go. I feel better that I've corrected that. But let's go Nova. Alright, let's go right on into it. Alright, this is the reason you're here, right? Like, let's see how big we can go. Let's action surge, and let's use every spell slot we can to smite. Let's fucking do it. This means that we attack 6 times. 2 for our action, 1 is a bonus action. Alright, and yes, action surge does say that you replenish an action and a bonus action. So, we attack 6 times. That is 66 plus 30. Alright, that is 24 Hexblade's curse damage. That is 6d6 of our Hex. That is 4d8. I am assuming that if you know that you're going Nova, then I am trying to give you everything we possibly can. All right, that means I'm saying that you took a short rest right before going into the boss room and you are using all of them. So 4d8. No, you cannot use all of your battle maneuvers in one attack, but it does say that you can use one battle maneuver for every time you make an attack. You're attacking 6 times. I am assuming at least 4 of them you can spread out these battle maneuvers. So this means we get to add 4d8 here. And of course, we have at least 3 spell slots to use our smite if we have gone Paladin 3. So that gives us our 6d8 of smite damage. This means that on average, we can do over 152 points of damage in one round. And what's nice is Hexblade's curse, our hex, our battle maneuver dice, all of that comes back on a short rest. So unlike other classes, when they go Nova, they have to fucking go sleep for 8 hours in order to do it back again. We can do a mini Nova, a smaller Nova round, after a simple short rest. Granted, we don't get our action surge, and these smites would be gone, but everything else stays the same. This is fantastic. Alright, this is so good, and this is a chunk of damage, even at level 10. Alright, this is enough to one-shot a lot of things that you would be fighting at CR 10. Alright, but don't believe me. Let's compare what this damage looks like to other big damage bruisers. So I've done the math. Now granted, if I try to come up with other kind of crazy min-maxed, multi-class things, then I'm sure these numbers would look, would be a little higher up. But because I don't want to sit here and try to come up with replicas of this class basically, but with just small minute differences, I just went, okay, let's say, let's take pure classes. If they would have gone levels 1 through 10, what would be their average damage? And here's what I came out with. At level 10, a Zealot Barbarian does an average of 39 to 40 points of damage. Congratulations, we have not only caught up to the Zealot Barbarian's average, but we have exceeded it. Now, I will say if a Zealot Barbarian goes Nova with, say, Great Weapon Master, which means that they use, say, both of their attacks with Great Weapon Master and hit, then their average damage jumps up to 59, 60 points of damage on average. Which, by the way, is right up there with us. That's literally our average damage as well. But we have all of that utility. We have all those super awesome spells that we can use. We have smites that we could add on top of it. And we did not have to take any -5 in order to make our damage get to this point. So, just throwing that out there. Alright, a level 10 Oathbreaker Paladin. Alright, if we use both a smite and their concentration to put a blinding smite, which is their biggest smite that they can possibly do, which basically means that, they are going in using both of their biggest spell slots they have, then their damage is 61. Which means if they don't smite and they don't use blinding smite, then their average drops to almost 48 to 50 points of damage. We do more damage than Oathbreaker Paladins on average. Simple. Now, if they go Nova with smites and Great Weapon Master, alright, then they can reach as high as 81 points of damage. But again, they're taking those -5s, they're using their biggest spell slots to smite, and they do not get those back. And as for that Hexblade, alright, level 10 Hexblade, alright, using a Hex, using one of their biggest smite spells, and using Hexblade's Curse, their average comes out to about 51 points of damage. And of course, they're using a smite spell here, but since they do get it back on a short rest, I'm going to say that, this isn't as crazy of a Nova as a Paladin or a Barbarian. So this is the damage that, we are able to go right up against and exceed. We are tripling. On our Nova round, we do 3 times the amount of damage that a Hexblade can do. We do 2 times as much damage on our Nova round as an Oathbreaker Paladin, and we do almost 3 times as much damage on a Zealot Barbarian on our Nova build. If this doesn't make you go, holy fucking shit, I want to play this in my next campaign, I don't know what else can make that work for you. But this is it. This is the monster, and again, it just gets better from here. All right, if you have a campaign, don't think that this class, it peaks at level 10, because it doesn't. All right, from now on, you go into your next few levels, all right, you can get into even more ability score improvements, which means maybe you do find, there might be a feat out there that I'm just not thinking about that can absolutely totally make or break this class up. Maybe you go back into Warlock, all right, you take Pact of the Blade, all right, make your weapons +1, and if you go, Blade just a few more times, then you can add Life Drinker, all right, you can add the ability to increase the damage by your Charisma stat, which isn't much, but it's enough, right? Like, it's a little bit. You can add Find Familiar. Like, this class gets better as it goes. Don't think 10 is the cap. It's just definitely where we see one of the biggest differences between it and some of the other biggest bruisers when it comes to damage. Well, this is it. This is my class. My ultimate Zorro / Levi Ackerman / whatever whatever character you envision, just flinging around, carrying multiple blades, slicing things up. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. It was definitely very fun for me. It took me a hot minute. I kept trying to fit like Monk in there and other classes in there to try to make it good, but I'm proud with what this came out to be. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that it was entertaining at least. The numbers were definitely something that surprised the hell out of me. Whatever the case, I hope you enjoyed, and I will catch you next time.